All right, everybody, welcome back to another video here at DFD Mastery. And I have Jarrod Frankum with me again. Some of you may recognize his face. How are you, Jarrod?
Splendid. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too. So I want to make sure there is a link to Jarrod's success story, his case study, being successful. So you are in Lubbock, Texas, right?
That's right.
And
That's right.
you're doing real estate wholesaling,
hmm
which is where you're finding discounted properties, putting them under contract, and selling that purchase contract for an assignment fee. You're absolutely crushing it. You've had a ton of success. How long
hmm
ago did we interview you on that first time?
The first time, I think it was last year, the end of last year, November or so.
Okay. Yeah. So November, it is now
No.
July. It's probably 6-7 months. That's what I was thinking. It's somewhere in that range. So you've continued to have really, awesome success. And you asked me some questions. You shot me a text today, and it's like, man, those are some great questions. I want to have that on my YouTube channel because I want to bless some people's lives. So
hmm
before we jump into that, I want people to understand that being successful as a real estate investor or a real estate wholesaler, one of our main struggles is finding and consistently finding discounted properties, right? The rest of it you can kind of figure out, and you can be very successful pretty easily once you're consistently finding those motivated sellers and those discounted properties. I know it can be very discouraging if you're not getting there and you do not have that. That's why I share my Driving for Dollar system, which has allowed me, which has allowed Jarrod, which has allowed all of our students across the country to be so successful. I go into depth on how to do that in my webinar. There's a link in the show notes. You can go to dfdmastery.com as well and sign up for that free webinar, and I'll go into depth and help you with that. So if you want to learn more, go there. But let's dive into today's content. So share with me, Jarrod, the questions you had and the concerns that you had, and we'll dive right into it.
Got it. Okay. Let me give you a little bit of backstory, and I'm just going to be completely candid.
Okay.
So today is the day I'm supposed to go back to my occupation, but I had left and I'm doing wholesaling full time now. So I know all of my coworkers are back still doing ministry and stuff full time, but I'm now transitioning into doing wholesaling complete full time.
Love it. Love
And
it.
so my concerns was, how do I keep metrics and track things on a day-to-day basis in order to stay very productive? Because what I'm feeling right now is like, man, I've got a ton more free time. And so why not just continue what I'm doing? And I know this is completely the wrong idea to have, is like, well, just maintain the status quo, what I was doing, and then just enjoy all the free time. But I want to stay productive. I know that there's so much more potential to grow, but I wanted to kind of get your experience and input. And here's also the thing I'm facing, which I think is incredible. But so I've got two deals closing today, total of $30,250,
Oh.
which is over half of what I would make if I was doing engineering. I've got a degree in engineering. So I've got that happening, and I've
What's
got
so cool? What's so cool is 30 grand in just today. You know, I assume, if you're making that much, how much are you generally closing each month? What have you done over the last 6 months? Do you mind sharing that?
well, okay, well, here's the thing is, because of the chalk it up to whatever reason, but these deals were stuff I've been carrying through since like February, and they're finally coming to a close now. So
Yeah,
I'm
because
doing like a
Texas got
deal.
really shut down, right?
Yeah, I've been doing like a deal a month, but closing a deal a month, and then now July, all of a sudden it's like an avalanche. Like right now I've got those two closing today. I've got two more at title. That's
Yep.
another 11K total. And then I'm also a realtor, and I've got a, a traditional realtor closing on Friday. So I feel like so much is just avalanching right on top of my lap at
Can I share
once.
my perspective on that?
Go ahead.
So the reason you're seeing that is obviously a combination of consistency, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it, depending on the market that you're in, I've seen that a lot of those people that were on the fence, a lot of those people that were holding on to postcards, a lot of people that were in your follow-up, they're like, man, maybe I should sell, maybe I shouldn't. And they were kind of going back and forth on the idea. COVID hit, the uncertainty of things. Some people lost their jobs. It's really pushed a lot of people, to the side of the fence of, hey, if we're going to sell it, we need to sell it now. And I just had my record month as well. Right. We had we cleared $200,000 and we have equity in 3 of those deals with another potential 40 to 50 grand coming into my business.
Mm-hmm.
And so, right now, like this very current moment, the market is hot for us. Like we can make a lot of money and obviously we capitalize now. We don't necessarily know and we can't necessarily predict what's going to happen and I was worried that COVID-19 would shut us down and we would never do business and, values would drop, wholesaling would be harder and we'd have to do more traditional financing. I didn't know what was going to happen. But the cool thing about what we do is it doesn't necessarily matter what's going to happen. We don't need to predict the future. We need to take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of us.
Right.
So I think a lot of my students, same story as you, same story as me, is like we're hitting some of our best months. We're having some explosive success and certain markets are popping at different moments because of policies putting in place, because, everything got shut down. Certain things are getting lifted again. Certain restrictions are lifted. So business can continue as normal. And that's when the explosion happens. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the market. So Utah had a little shutdown and opened up pretty quickly. So, ours was one of the first markets to really pop. Yeah, that's some of the things. So you're having all this awesome success. You were averaging about a deal a month, you said, and now you're doing a handful of deals this month, which is exciting. How much is your average deal size?
Right now, about 15. It's changing, but about 15K.
Okay. So you'll definitely clear over $100,000 and then some. What do you think you're going to end up clearing this year? What's your expectation if you keep things as they are?
If nothing changes, I'm actually thinking I'll probably be closer to 200K for the year.
Yeah, and it's just you, one man show. So I assume your profits are up there, right? I mean,
yeah, but I've bought a ton of coaching, which I think is incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and I think a large amount of my success is due to my coaching.
Oh, that's my success, brother. I have right now, I have a fitness advisor. I have a one-on-one advisor that coaches me onto being a coach. I have an advisor that teaches me how to run all of my marketing and all my email copy, all my copy for my coaching business.
Right.
I have a coach for marketing with radio on my wholesaling business. I have a coach that's coaching me how to do take advantage of realtor leads right now in my wholesaling business. And that's just what I currently have for coaches and advisors.
Mm-hmm.
So, here's a gold nugget for anyone listening. And for you, Jarrod, is you've gotten a taste of the success that can come from coaching, from advisors, from people that are accomplishing or doing what you want to accomplish. And you're just following in their footsteps, right? You don't need to cut the path, right? The path has been cut. All you have to do is just follow their stride. So that's awesome that you're putting a lot of your money, a lot of what you've made back into learning more and producing more, which will get you more results, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, what is your marketing budget per month to produce about 15 grand?
Probably about $1,000.
$1,000. Okay. Wow. That's really nice. That's great. Like what is that? 7.5% of your total revenue?
Yeah.
7.5%. That's incredible. That's incredible because if anyone has an existing business and has marketing systems in place, if they hear that, you're able to only put, 7.5% of your budget of total gross revenue towards your marketing, like that's incredible. So I assume most of that is from driving from dollars. Do you have any other marketing sources?
I drive for dollars. Of course, I send out postcards, and then I've got the dialer.
Yeah, but your main list, the only list you're marketing to, is the drive for dollars list.
Yeah, right now it is. I've
Good.
bought some other lists in the past, and I've got some free ones, but average out, I think I'm at about $1,000 a month.
Beautiful. Okay. So, okay. I just want to get a good feel of where you're at, and then also the audience will be able to know where you're at as well. So you mentioned that you're walking away from, your day job, you're going full-time wholesaling, and your question and concern is, how do I stay productive and how do I, hit new levels of success? Is that
Right. Exactly. Because
correct?
right now with this windfall of cash I'm about to get, so much of my natural being just like, man, you did it. Take a chill time and hang and enjoy the cash. But I'm thinking, man, that's gonna really bite me if I do that here in a month or two. Whenever I don't put the consistency in, and then my deals dry up. I've experienced that before, but I want to fight that and use this time to boost my business to the next level rather than just stay where it is. And it's not a matter of like it's not enough money or anything like that. Is I find so much joy in putting the deal together. Like, that is so neat, finding a distressed seller, finding a buyer, and making something happen that otherwise wouldn't have happened. I find so much joy in that. And also, I feel like it's all has been a gift from the Lord as far as where my business has come. So I don't want to waste that. So I want to be productive with my time and efficient, but I'm realizing that doing wholesaling on a part-time thing is way different than doing it as a full-time deal. If I mean business about it, you know what I mean?
Right. Okay. I'm going to teach you some things that I was taught by my mentor. I want to talk about a couple different rabbit holes you can get into in the situation that you're in, right? So there's the mindset of, okay, I have all this money. Now I want to play, right? Now I want to have fun. There's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't, right? But there's also a point where you can undo your success by doing too much chilling, too much fun. Right. And so there's this inner fear that so Tony Robbins teaches that as humans, we have 7 emotional needs, and one of those is certainty. We're certain that we'll be taken care of. We're certain we'll have what we need. But there's a certain point that more money isn't going to create more certainty in our life. It actually will do the opposite. It'll create this fear of, oh, I need to hang on to this money, right? Like you become emotionally attached to the money because of the certainty that you get from it. And so be careful that you're not just chasing the next deal. You're not chasing revenue for revenue's sake, for that feeling of certainty, right? Don't chase money for that feeling, that good feeling. So you'll get to a certain point that the more so what happens is, like, when someone does their very first wholesale deal, that feeling is just amazing. It's a feeling of accomplishment. It's this certainty that you get, right? It's just, it's a drug. It's a hit of emotions that is just extremely overwhelming, right? It brings people to tears, the gratitude. It's amazing. It's a beautiful feeling, right? And then you do your second deal and your third deal and your fourth deal, and then you kind of become numb to that success. And then you start shooting to that next level. Okay, how do I get it to $10,000 a month consistently? Right. How do I get it to increase my average deal size? How do I get it? And you keep making these next steps. And ultimately, I was like, oh, how do I get my business to bringing in $1 million in a year? I did it, right? But then it's like every time I go to that next level, I feel less and less and less of that first emotional breakthrough.
Right.
Right. And the funny thing is when I coach people and when I help people, that feeling doesn't go away. That excitement doesn't go away, because I allow people to feel that success and that emotion. The more and more that I help people, it doesn't go away. It doesn't diminish, right? The helper's high is a different high than taking care of your own needs. You get to a certain point where when your own financial needs are taken care of, you crave a different feeling, right? You crave a different level of success, which is contribution, which is another emotional need that we have as human beings. Okay, I want to teach this in a way that people understand and can follow what I'm talking about, because a lot of people have never done their first deal, right? A lot of people who listen to this have never had that success, right? So let's keep this at a very basic level.
Sure.
With what you're working on, you're focused on wanting to stay productive and getting to that next level. And that's great. We're going to focus on that. I just shared that last portion with you to help you understand that, to be careful that you're not chasing that next dollar amount for self-worth, right? Because you will become empty. It'll make you empty. I want you to have a clear vision of what you want to have and to be successful, because you can have boats and fancy cars and fancy houses. I'm not saying you can't have these material things, but I don't want you to think that chasing those things will create fulfillment. If you want those things, you can have those things. And I'm actually building a custom home. I love it. Like I want nice things, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that you can't allow those tiers of success and plan on those fulfilling you, because you'll feel empty. You'll hit those goals and you'll be like, man, I expected to have more fulfillment, right? Like I did when I did my very first deal. But there's a certain point where if it's not filling your actual human needs, like food, shelter, clothing, money in the bank to take care of those main things, right? There's going to be less and less fulfillment after that point. Okay. So going back to how do you have productive days and accomplish more and do more? First, and most importantly, is you need to have a clear direction of where you want to go and why you want to go there.
Right.
So what I would have laid out is a 5-year, a 3-year, a 1-year goal, right? Where you want to be, and very clear and specific. Not only would I write out where you want to be with your business, but I would write out why, right? Why do you want to be there? So I remember I told my coach, I want to do $1 million in 12 months. I'm almost there. I think I can do it. I only have a few months left of the year. And he's like, why? Why do you want to do $1 million? I wanted to do $1 million to prove to myself that I could do $1 million. And when I hit the $1 million, it wasn't that great. It wasn't. Like I didn't feel anything. Like it wasn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be. And it's not because I'm shallow or I'm ungrateful. It's just it didn't mean anything. $800,000, $1 million, it didn't do anything different in my life. Right? And, he helped me realize that chasing that next is just, you just hear about so many people. It's like, oh, I want to do $1 million a month. And I want to have 10,000 apartment complexes. And it's like, why? And most of the time, people want that because they feel like they will be worthy of love. So there's a book called, I think I actually told you about this book. It's called, what's it called? Improving your marriage without talking about it. Did I tell you about that book?
No.
It's a great book. There's a section in there that talks about men in a general sense, right? That one of the reasons we get depressed and are suicidal as men is because we don't feel that we are worthy of love. Not that we aren't loved, where women are more suicidal if they feel like they're not loved. They don't have anyone that loves them. But men feel like they should be suicidal because they're not worthy of love. So when men lose their money, they're way more likely to commit suicide than a woman, because they don't feel that they're worthy of love. They don't feel like they're worthy because they're not contributing, right? So a lot of times men, in a general sense, will chase money, will chase materialistic things, will chase goals because of their ego, because of their need to feel worthy of love. And I just, you're having the success, right? You're moving to a good place. And the reason I'm a mentor is to get you to that point.
Right.
Because I believe that if I can allow people to not worry about money anymore, they can then learn to be better people and contribute more to society. So what I want to invite you to do is to set goals, 5, 3, and 1 year out and where you want to be and then why. And then I want you to be just as proud of that why as the goal itself.
Sure.
Don't let the goal be because of your ego that you can boast. Like, I hit this goal because I'm a badass. I want it to be, I hit this goal because this is what I want to achieve in this life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, don't let your ego be the reason for your success.
Sure.
Okay. So with that being said, there's another book I want you to read. It's called The Power of Discipline, No Excuses, I think is what it's called. I think it's a Brian Tracy book. It's been quite a few years since I read it, but it really helped me with my productivity. So once you have a clear vision of where you want to go in your life, right, and why you want to go there, now you need to set up every single day that you're working towards those things, right? And you're prioritizing what matters to you. And you can do this with all areas of your life, okay? And this is, I'm giving you some advice for your business because I'm a business coach. I'm not a relationships coach, but I'm you know, I believe these strategies can help you in any aspect: health, fitness, relationships, you know, your finances, your business, whatever you're trying to accomplish. Okay. So set clear expectations and why. Now you need to set up your monthly down to weekly, down to daily. And I don't really like having like monthly goals, weekly goals, and because I feel like you can't necessarily control the short-term outcomes. You know, you can't really necessarily say, okay, I want to guarantee that I have this by the end of the week, or I have this by the end of the month, because certain things happen, right? Certain things like your mom gets sick, or your dad gets sick, or your spouse is sick, or your kids are sick, or something happens in that short term that really throws you off. And you can't let those short, you know, failures affect the long term. So what I like to do to have productivity to hit those long-term goals is have basically a diary, or not a diary, basically a list. So here's my list. Okay. This list sits next to me every single day. I write it down. I know a lot of people use, like, I have Google Calendars and I have everything, you know, in there when I have to get certain things done throughout the day, but I have a list of priorities of things that I want to accomplish.
Yeah.
So some of the things, love it. So that way, when I'm working during the day and I accomplish and finish a task, I then look at my sheet and I go through things that I haven't done. And I go, okay, that is the next thing that I want to do the very least. That's what I'm going to do. That's what really needs to get done for me to get to that next level. And then I cross it off when it's done. And if I think of something while I'm working on a project, I write it down so it doesn't sidetrack me from what I'm trying to do. I have, you know, the thing is too, is when you have these things and you're constantly thinking about them, it's going to pop up new problems. It's going to allow your subconscious mind to think of things that need to be done. And so it happens to me a lot when I'm sleeping. I'll wake up with a solution, which is really weird. Like, I'll wake up and be like, I have the answer. Here it is. Or when I'm falling to sleep, because it's when my mind's the quietest. And so I actually will have my phone next to my bed and I just make a note in my phone to add it to my list.
I saw a post from Tom Kroll recently. I thought it was incredible. He showed a picture of his desk and he says he has a timer, his computer, and then a to-do list. And he works 50 minutes straight, focused, laser focused on his to-do list, then 10 minutes for a break. And he says, if anything comes into your mind, put it down on the to-do list and then get right back to tasks. And I thought that was so revolutionary, because I get so distracted. If something comes to mind, and I switch and switch and switch, and I get totally inefficient with my time. But seeing that post was awesome
huge.
to me.
It's a strategy that's ancient, right? It's not new. It's just, you know, high achieving people, successful people, they learn these strategies and implement and are successful, right? So the book, Power of Self-Discipline, No Excuses by Brian Tracy, that's in there. That's in there. The other thing that one of the strategies that I took from that book that I use often. So when I have a big goal, right? When I have a a goal that's overwhelming, terrifying. I have no idea how I'm going to do it. So like when I hit that goal of $1 million in my business, for example, right? And I set that goal when I had only done like $480,000 in a year. So I set that goal at the end of that year, and I had no idea because I felt like I was just blessed and achieving more than I deserved. Like I didn't know if it was even possible, right?
Yeah, I
To
feel that
get my
way now.
business bigger, right? It's like, how do I get to that level? Like how? So Brian Tracy teaches a strategy when you want to accomplish something that seems impossible because you've never been there, you don't know how to do it, you've never accomplished it, you don't know anyone that has accomplished it. Like when you have a big, scary, what do they call it? The scary, audacious something goal, right? Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When you have that type of goal, what he teaches is you do a brainstorming session. So you shut off all your electronics, you go to a quiet place, and you take a piece of paper, and you do not stop until you have 20 different ideas, implementable ideas to get to your goal. And then you go, okay, these are my very best, 1, 2, or 3, and then you start implementing them. And you start implementing them until they're automated or until they're accomplished, and then you go to your next ones. And you keep doing those and going through all that list of 20. And if you get through the entire list of 20 and still haven't accomplished the ultimate goal, you create
Mm-hmm.
another list of 20 and go from there. And the funny thing is, when I did that, I accomplished goals.
Wow.
So you write that list of 20, and it's quite interesting because the first 10 is really easy. 15's hard, and the last 5 is about impossible.
Mm-hmm.
But it's quite cool because one of the main things that made me successful was unexpected, right? It was very unexpected. The way I got to $1 million in my wholesaling business was not what I expected. So one of the 20 things that I had written was constantly search out self-improvement opportunities in coaching. No, it wasn't just like coaching within, wholesaling, but self-improvement coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got invited to do a self-help journal with my buddy, that was on my list. I was like, yes, I want to do that with you. It's on my list. Check that one off.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the self-improvement journal, which kind of guided me to start coaching. And because I started giving and coaching and teaching, it allowed me to perfect what I was doing. And coaching literally allowed me to be so much better at wholesaling that I was able to hit the $1 million.
Wow.
So my success didn't necessarily come in a straight line. It didn't come how I expected it, but I was definitely very clear on what I wanted to accomplish. I strategized how to get there, and I went to work. So Tom Kroll, right? We just mentioned him. Love this guy. He's a coach of coaches. He's amazing. And he has a book that he loves. It's called The War of Art. I read it by his suggestion. Great book. And he talks about the amateur versus the master. I may be using the wrong vocabulary, but essentially synonymous with those two words. And the expert learns what he wants doing the work, right? Where the amateur, it's all in theory, right? So when you have an ultimate direction you want to go, you're going to write a list of things, right? You're going to brainstorm, but ultimately you're going to figure out how to get there by doing the work. Like you're not going to necessarily know the path, and it's not going to be completely clear to you, but you're going to be constantly working on it. So, it's funny you asked me this question because you're not the first. I've actually had a couple people ask me this now, like, what do I do to have very productive days? How am I, productive? Do I have a morning routine? So I actually created a YouTube video. It's going to be coming out. It might come out before this video, about my morning routine as well. And I think morning routines are great if they empower you, but I think they're silly. I really do. And I'll explain why. When you so remember when I said Tony Robbins has the 7 emotional needs, and one of those is certainty?
Yeah.
The other one is, I can't remember what word he uses. It's either uncertainty or diversity, but it's the opposite, right? It's that adventurous part of us.
Mhm.
It's that we want to have some unknown. We want to have a challenge, right? Because, do you want to get up every single day and go to the same exact desk and do the same exact task and sit in the assembly line and eat the same ham and cheese sandwich and come home, every single day to meatloaf and potatoes and have like the exact same thing happen to you every single day of your life? You would go freaking crazy,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Terrible. So, to me, I don't like having a lot of the same exact thing in my life. I don't. My hobbies are very much, I want to go to a different mountain and experience a different adventure. I love the mountains and I do similar things all the time. I fish and I hunt with a bow and arrow and I spend all this time in the mountains, but it's a different place. I went to Hawaii and Alaska and different parts of Idaho. I want that change. I want that change in scenery. And we all need that as well. And so with me, a morning routine, I feel like it doesn't really empower me. I feel like it's a burden and like a responsibility for me to. It's something that requires discipline. So I know a lot of people that say, "Oh, you wake up in the morning," and Tony Robbins even teaches. He does his priming exercise and jumps in an ice cold bath, and it's not what I do. I don't wake up at the same time every day. I don't. Sometimes I don't go to bed till midnight. Some days I go to bed at 9. The biggest thing is I try and get 8 to 9 hours of sleep because I'm most productive. And I have my list of responsibilities. I have my tasks that I have to show up to on my Google calendars. And then I have my tasks of things that I want to accomplish. And then the night before, when I go to sleep, I look at my following day and I plan and prepare and I set expectations and goals for myself for that following day. And if something happens that is more important than those tasks, I'll take care of those first, which is usually family and health. And other than that, it's my work, right? Those are the only things that get in the way of what I set my mind to. So if I'm super tired, I'll say, okay, I can take a nap or I'll take some caffeine, right? I'll do whatever it takes to get those tasks done. But I don't feel like, I've tried different morning routines and meditation exercises and a bunch of different things in the morning, but I didn't feel like they gave me any extra oomph to my day. I totally feel like what I shared with you of having my tasks written down and a clear goal of where I would like to get to, and a clear determination to be productive throughout the day and having set those priorities the night before, that's made me successful.
So let me ask this: in your business, what are your metrics that you track like crazy? Because I feel like that is one thing that I am lacking mega, is tracking metrics or KPIs. I think that's the word.
Okay. Very good. That's a great question. So I preach this heavily and I believe it 100% to my core. I believe that real estate investing is a marketing business.
Right. Okay.
I
No question.
don't believe it's wholesaling. I don't believe you're in the business of flipping. I don't believe you're in the business of rentals. I don't believe you're in the business of anything other than finding deals. It's lead generation. It's marketing, sales, tracking your revenue. That's it. That's 99.99. That's 100% of businesses, right? Because it's the same thing with my coaching business. Same thing with my window cleaning business. Is every time I wanted to be successful, I had to first pin down a marketing strategy that works, right? So that thus driving for dollars. So what I track with my metrics is my marketing. I don't really worry about anything else, because the thing is if you can pinpoint exactly what works with your marketing, then you know exactly what you can predict off of this marketing channel, and you make a change, like you add an acquisition manager, and all of a sudden those numbers start to decline. Guess what? Your acquisition manager needs more training or he needs to be fired.
Right. Sure.
So that's really all I really track. Of course, I have a bookkeeper that keeps all of my expenses and all of my income so I don't go to jail because of Uncle Sam, right? But all that stuff is, I only do it because Uncle Sam makes me. The only reason, right? But really, the only numbers that really matter to a business are those main metrics of where am I putting my money, right? I'm sending out my little minions, right? And how many little minions are they bringing back, right? And if you make any adjustments to your business, to your team, something happens in the economy, right? You can actually pinpoint those problems and fix the problems because of those metrics. So, since you're a student, you have access to my Kpi sheet, right? Have you seen that? I assume you're using it, right? So let me pull up mine and we can go through them really quick. Whoops, that didn't work. Okay. All right. So what I'll do is I'll break down each marketing either list or channel. So let's say you're doing TV commercials. Okay. So you can have, your TV commercials is one of your KPIs, but then you need to go, okay, so we're going to test TV ads, but we're going to test this station, and then we're going to test this ad copy, right? And this ad copy and this ad copy. And you're going to track how much you're spending to this station and to these different ads. And you're going to check how many people are actually responding to that. How many people are calling in? How many of those end up in an appointment? How many of those end up into, or how much money's then generated? And then how much it costs you, right? Which will then you can calculate your total net. So your gross is how much comes in. Your net is your total that comes in minus the expense to get that to come in, okay? So then you can figure out your net revenue from that channel. So you've told me that you have driving for dollars and you're doing cold calling. So you need to have your driving for dollars list, but then you need to go, okay, so how many cold callers do you have?
Me.
Just you. Okay, so let's say you have you and you ultimately want to hire someone else. You're going to have your own KPIs. So you're going to have how many hours you dialed. You're going to have, let me go to my KPI sheet so I don't miss something. So you're going to go to the amount of hours that you dialed. And hold on. That didn't. Okay, here we go. So for example, Jace called in the month of June. So we broke down our driving for dollars list into a handful of different lists. But he called for the month 200 and let's see here. No, that's the first quarter. That's not what I wanted. Sorry. Actually, that's fine. So the first quarter, Jace called for 216 hours. Braxton called for 167 hours. I called for 15 hours. Hayden called for 2 hours. So I have all my different cold callers, how many hours they called. And then I have how many responses they got. So how many people they actually talked to that own the house. So I could see, their conversion ratios, and then how many leads were pushed over by them, how many appointments were created by them, how many contracts, and then the gross profit that was generated by each cold caller, And then also the net profit, because I can calculate the total expense because I have all those numbers there. I pay them X amount per hour. That's how much it cost me. My net profit for that caller is this. So you can actually find out who's your most profitable callers, who's costing you money, which will allow you to go, okay, this person's 10 times more productive. Why? And you can figure out the differences between caller A and caller B, right? And then also you can decide ultimately, is this a profitable marketing strategy or is it not? Right. And it's the same thing. Let's say you're doing postcards. So you'll have, I sent X amount of postcards. They cost me this much money, you know, to send them. Are there any additional costs to this? The response rate, how many people responded? How many of those responses were actually leads, right? Your leads, how many appointments were generated, how many contracts, and your gross profit. Then you can figure out your net. And then you can calculate everything else, right? You can calculate your average contact to response rate, your average contact to lead rate. You can have all these ratios. So then let's say you ultimately hire an acquisition manager and you have him going out on appointments, and all of a sudden your ratios to how many leads are produced to how many contracts you get is way, way less than what you were getting. You know that person needs more training, right? So all of your success, everything you need to look at is around your marketing numbers.
Got it.
Right. I know there might be some really, really smart MBAs listening to this and think I'm an idiot. And they're going to be like, oh, you need to know your EBITDA and you're going to need to know all your, your accounting measures and your cash flow and your everything else. Right. But I'm not very smart. I'm not the smartest guy, but I know that following this strategy has made me and is making me very successful. It is simple.
For me.
It is simple. I mean, a 10-year-old can understand this, right? And I think a lot of times we want to complicate things, and we don't need to. We don't need to. We need to know that we have a profitable marketing channel and that we are making way more than we're spending, right? A good rule of thumb is you want to be spending less than 25% of your gross income on marketing. And you shared with me that your 7.5% of your gross goes to marketing. And it's actually going to be way less this month because you had some bonuses, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I spent to make $200,000 this month, and usually we're like $50,000 to $80,000 in income. We usually spend about $13,000. So let's say if I so last year I did a little over $1 million. So let's do, what's $1 million? Actually, sorry, 80,000 divided by, 13,000 divided by 80,000. I did that wrong. Divided by 80,000. So I'm about 16% of my gross goes to marketing with just my Driving for Dollars marketing, right? The other thing too is here's well, actually, do you have any more questions around that? Did I answer your questions with KPIs?
Yeah, that nailed it.
Because I remember when I was like, what do I track and why do I track it? What do I need to track it for? I felt so afraid and overwhelmed by that. But does it give you more clarity? Do you still feel like you know?
I wasn't overwhelmed. I just needed some help making the vision more clear, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I get it. I get why it's important. I don't know. It wasn't, the importance wasn't there, but now I'm starting to understand. Like that's like our how we measure our pulse in our businesses.
Oh, it's totally. And like
now I'm understanding.
Right. So remember when I said have a clear vision of where you want to get to? So I want to get to the point where I'm making $1 million a year profit in my investment business, and I spend less than 5 hours a week in it. Right. That's my 5-year goal. And why? Because I want to spend all of that time investing into my students and empowering them to have the same freedoms to allow them to bless other people's lives. That's why, right? That is my total focus. So for that to happen, I have to have multiple marketing strategies that are extremely profitable with systems in place to monetize those and profit off of those marketing channels, right?
Right.
And so for that to happen, my 5 hours, I look at my KPIs. That's what I do. Every single week, I sit down with my marketing director, Miguel, who does all my driving, sends all my postcards. He also manages the CRM system and make sure it's functioning, right? Leads are getting pushed through. And then he tracks all this for me. All those numbers that I'm asking for, a lot of them are tracked because our CRM system's great. It takes them 2-3 hours every single week to upload that data each week. And then the Excel spreadsheet uploads it for us in the month, the quarter. So we get a pulse over time, right? And so I sit down with him, and then I also sit down with my acquisition manager that has more of a partnership position now within my business. As we grow and make more money, he gets more of the profit share, which is great for me because it allows the company to grow. He's more hands on deck with the day-to-day problems, right? And I get to see the overall pulse. And as a mentor and a coach, I get exposed to other mentors and other coaches and who's being successful and what they're teaching, and I get to implement other things. So like I said, I've implemented radio. I have 3 radio stations now. I've implemented working with real estate agents and selling my real estate retail leads, because we're not, a retail brokerage. That's not what we do. And so, my overall focus, my 5 hours a week, is looking at my KPIs for an hour a week. And then the other 4 hours is the visionary process of like, okay, where are we going? Why are we not to the ultimate goal, right, of $1 million profit a year? What are the other things we need to implement? What do we need to work on? And basically figure out what that is, and then pass that over to someone in the team to implement it. So yeah, that's the main way that I've been able to grow my business is those KPIs. And the funny thing is, I was able to make money, but I didn't know. I didn't know if I'd be in business the next day. I didn't know for a surety what to predict. I didn't know that.
That's where I am. Exactly where I am.
Yeah, like I know that if I add X amount of properties to my driving for dollars list, and I do X amount of hours on the phone calls and this many texts and this many postcards, I'm going to produce X amount of leads. I know that on average, every single month, or every single week, every single month, I'm going to produce on average 24 leads, 24 solid leads
per month.
Per month. I know that about 6 of those, 4 to 6 of those, are going to convert to contracts every single month, right? And I'm excited to figure out
residual.
What's that?
How many of the rest of those are residual, where in 6 to 8 months it turns into something?
Well, that counts those.
Okay.
Right? Because I've been doing this long enough with 2,000 every single month that I know, 1 or 2 of those is going to be from follow-up.
Got it. Okay.
Actually, more than that. It's usually about half or follow-up. But like 1 or 2 of them, it's actually like 8 months follow-up, year follow-up. So we just did a deal. We made $68,000 on it. And here, let me look at it. I can give you the exact numbers. It's in here. So it's in the second quarter. Let's see, 68,000. Where is that deal? No, it's not the 6. So we did a 68,000, but that one came from postcards. I'm trying to find where the cold calling lead came from. It was a solid one. It might actually been I think it was actually the $78,000 deal. I think we did like a $78,000 deal. Oh crap, I can't find it. It's in here somewhere. But it was actually cold called by my acquisition manager over 9 months ago.
Wow.
And it's been in his follow-up ever since. So if you talk to Brent Daniels, cold calling king himself, he'll tell you majority of your deals with cold calling will be through follow-up.
Yeah, that's been my case too.
Yeah, the majority of them, because you're reaching out to them before they're ready to call a postcard. Usually a higher majority of your postcard, or even your text or radio, where they have to proactively respond, will be in a closer point of wanting to sell. So you'll have more lay downs or like contracts that week or within the next few weeks, versus cold calling where it's like, yeah, I've been kind of thinking about it. It kind of depends on the situation. Tenants situation's good now, but I don't really want to be a landlord, but we've got good tenants, right? So then it's like, okay, keep following up till their landlord's, because it's inevitable that they're going to get a bad tenant, right? Like that's the business of being a landlord.
Right.
And so you're just following up till that hits the fan, right? So that's the cool thing about understanding your marketing and your metrics, is what to predict and what to prepare for. So knowing that most of your deals come from follow-up, if you want to grow and do more cold calling and bring more cold callers in, that maybe the first 3-4 months, you're going to be losing money with that cold caller until some of those deals start cashing out. And then you're going to start seeing some profitability. But that's why you track your marketing, because you can kind of predict and have set some expectations for yourself and them, right? Because you can sit down your acquisition manager and be like, hey, look at these numbers with me. I would get 24 appointments and I would get 6 contracts. You've had 37 appointments and you have 2 contracts.
Right.
Okay, I'm not trying to beat you up, but let's solve this.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to record your appointments. I need to go on appointments with you. We need to train you better. This is a possible reality for you. We have not changed a thing in our marketing, right? And so let's get you to that level, right? Then you're not blowing smoke. Then you're not just like, then you're not emotionally making decisions with your team. You're like, man, I just feel like this is a really shitty month. But you have no data behind it. You just feel shitty, right? Like that KPI sheet that I gave you in the course is honestly the only thing you need for your KPIs.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest you hire a bookkeeper. You can afford one to categorize your expenses correctly for your taxes. And what I do is I sit down once a month at the beginning of the month and look at all of the expenses on my business account and make sure I know what every single charge is. There's no scam of things. There's no subscriptions that I don't want to be subscribed to. There's nothing that I'm wasting money on.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows me to know what my team's spending money on and why. And then making sure that we're tracking that expense as well in the KPI sheet of, hey, that expense should be allocated. So for like Mojo, the Mojo subscription for the cold calling, that's is one of the expenses is associated with cold calling in general.
Right. Sure.
So, so yes, you do have some of those expenses in your KPI sheet. But there's other expenses like my rent, my utilities, my phone, all those other things, they need to be put into my business. And then I can see my gross revenue from my entire business, my net profits. And obviously as a business owner, you can write off more things like mileage and, your cell phone, things that sometimes have a bit of a mixed use, but it's important to have a good accountant that can share with you what's a correct tax write-off, what is not. And so, yes, I have a CPA that helps me with my tax stuff. And I have a bookkeeper that tracks all of that in QuickBooks for me. But I look at my financials, yes, but really the pulse on my business is that KPI sheet.
The marketing, sure. Okay.
Does that help?
Absolutely. Okay.
Any other questions?
No, that really nails what I was looking for.
Very good. All right. Well, I appreciate you getting on here.
You said you had one thing you wanted to ask at the end.
Yes, I'm probably going to ask you off air actually on that one. Okay. Well, one thing that would be cool too is once you sit down, I want you to take some time, and I know you have a special person in your life. I assume you still do, but you know, one of the cool things is, you know, sitting down with your special person, right? Because your 5-year, 3-year, 1-year goals and why you should definitely involve your special person, right? If you
Sure.
guys have a spouse, a very serious girlfriend, boyfriend, you know, those are, you know, we have success to to um to feed our lifestyles, to bless our lives, to bless our families, to bless our relationships. And so those big goals and those focuses are going to require sacrifice, right?
Sure.
There, you have a certain amount of time, and you need to have your focus towards something and why you have it focused there.
Right.
And the great thing is I have a beautiful wife that has zero interest in real estate. She, you know, she has been helping with the YouTube channel and has walked away. She doesn't want to be a part of my business. She wants to have her own business. And that's great, right? She's a very intelligent girl. But one thing that I absolutely love and has allowed me to be who I am is because she allows me to go for my dreams, and she understands what I'm trying to accomplish and why, right? And she believes in my mission, and she believes in me, and I have that support. You know, I'm not at war with her to accomplish my goals. So make sure you sit down and write those out, and not necessarily you know, try to get her permission, but make sure she supports you in those decisions, because they will cause some sacrifice on both parts.
Sure.
And then it would be cool if you could share those goals and things on the Facebook group too, and share with others
Yeah.
what you're working on and why you're sharing them. That'd be great. Bless some of our other students. Great stuff. I think we can call it there. That's a probably pretty long recording. If you guys are still with us, thank you so much for following along. I hope you guys got some great gold nuggets. If you did, make sure you hit the like button, hit the bell so you get notifications for future videos. If you're not subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can see our future content. And as always, God bless you. Good luck in your ventures. If you have any questions or want me to approach any other subjects on this YouTube channel, make sure you post them in the comment section and I will get to them. So thanks for joining in, and we will talk again shortly, Jarrod, I'm sure.